I am convinced, based on the classified and unclassified information that I've seen, that President Xi in China is working with President Putin in Russia.
The leaders of U.S. adversaries, Iran, Russia, and China, are working together to dominate their respective regions and undermine U.S. security and values, Senator John Kennedy said on Thursday. Quote, "I'm convinced, based on classified information, the president of China, Xi in China, working with President Putin in Russia, and is working with Ayatollah in Iran against the United States of America and Western values, including but not limited to freedom," the Louisiana Republican said in Congress. Russia plays a pivotal role in Iran's nuclear infrastructure, leading initiatives such as the expansion of the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Iranian drones have aided Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, leading to stricter US-led sanctions. Iran's president said shortly after the election of President Donald Trump that the country seeks greater cooperation with Beijing and Moscow to confront what he called Washington's unilateralism. What I think is happening behind closed doors is a huge formation of this group consisting of China, Russia, and Iran that will threaten anything that the US and Israel will do in the Middle East. Is going to influence their policy in the Middle East so hugely that US is now worried that it can actually overtake US and Israeli foreign policy in the Middle East and threat them to the point where they will have to change some of those policies towards Middle East. This is how big of a threat it has become. This is what John Kennedy said also. Quote, "I believe their ultimate goal was to have Iran dominate the Middle East," end quote. Kennedy added, saying Moscow sought to hold sway over Eastern and Central Europe. China's Xi Jinping, whom Kennedy described as, quote, "the quarterback of this ball club," would control the Indo-Pacific, Sub-Saharan Africa, and South America. Tehran and Beijing inked a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2016 aimed at increasing bilateral trade to $600 billion by 2026. However, trade volume reached just $12.5 billion last year, according to the International Monetary Fund. China remains Iran's largest trade partner and purchases nearly all of Iran's crude oil in defiance of US sanctions. In a separate video, I explained how that is happening, how China is importing Iranian's crude oil, bypassing US sanction. And guys, this is quite obvious that US will not be happy, and they are now trying to impose more sanction on Iranian crude oil going anywhere, bringing it down to zero export of Iranian crude oil to any country in the region.
I am convinced, based on the classified and unclassified information that I've seen, that President Xi in China is working with President Putin in Russia and is working with the Ayatollah in Iran against the United States of America and Western values, including but not limited to freedom. I believe their ultimate goal is to have Russia dominate Central and Eastern Europe. I believe their ultimate goal is to have Iran dominate the Middle East. And President Xi's ultimate goal, he's the quarterback of this ball club, is to dominate the Indo-Pacific, be free to roam at will in sub-Saharan Africa and South America. Now, I don't want America to be the world's policeman, but I don't want President Xi or President Putin or the Ayatollah in Iran to be the world's policeman either. And the world I just described, if I am correct, the objectives of our enemies, if I am correct, is not a world that will be safe for America. Weakness invites the wolves. We have to spend more money on defense.
Quote, I don't want America to be the world's policeman, but I don't want President Xi or President Putin or the Ayatollah in Iran to be the world's policeman either, Kennedy said. In other words, if we cannot rule, if we do not have our police attitude in the Middle East, if nobody is willing to accept us as the judge in the Middle East, as the sole dominant power in the Middle East, then we do not want anybody, especially China, Russia, Iran, to do that job. The objectives of our enemies, if I am correct, is not a world that would be safe for America. Weakness invites the wars. We have to spend more money on defense. In other words, US is inviting all of these countries to come and join them in a fight to really destabilize the entire region. We're going to spend more money, so you want to fight with us? We spend more money. You want to compete with us? Spend more money. As if money will bring peace and stability. It doesn't do that, because if it did, then today we'll have peace in Middle East, but we don't have any. It is policy that brings peace. It is your action, your judgment of situation, and your inclination to have any peace in the Middle East. You don't have any of those. You are inclined to more violence. This is what is happening right now. Fellow Republican senators on Tuesday told Iran International that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei was unwise to dismiss nuclear talks with the United States, and President Trump is no pepper tiger. This game has been played for a very long time. Russia, Iran, China, they have seen how US can be very, very deceiving when it comes to Iran's nuclear program, for example, or China's export to United States, where we see Donald Trump is imposing a lot of tariffs, or whether it is Putin's war with Ukraine. They have all experienced, all of these three countries, they have experienced firsthand how deceiving US can be. So you cannot blame them, and you cannot say, oh, we are so nice to you, and look what you are doing, you are threatening us. This also brings us to the point where we have discussed the greater Israeli plan. If China, Russia, and Iran, they are coalescing and they're influencing the foreign policies, then guess what? Israel's greater Israeli ambition, desire will be crushed, because Israel wants to expand its territories all the way to Saudi Arabia, Mecca and Medina, but they are going to face a lot of resistance led by, in this case, Iran, if they go ahead with that kind of plan. So of course US is aware of those kind of desire of greater Israeli plan, but even though it is not being set in motion, nevertheless US would still want Israel to have the freedom to pursue those dreams and desires of greater Israel whenever they want. Obviously, that looks like to me is not happening if China, Iran, Russia, they're ganging up against US and Israel.